A German tech giant told the world it had $2 billion in the bank. It had zero. Not misplaced, not frozen, just never there. And the man who built that lie didn't go to prison. He's accused of becoming a Russian spy. This isn't a movie pitch. It's the story of Wirecard. And it's number 2, Jan Marsalek, Germany's hottest fintech, worth 24 billion euros at its peak, bigger than Deutsche Bank. Look, this was supposed to be the company that proved Germany could beat Silicon Valley. Here's the receipt. The auditors said 2.1 billion was missing. The bank said it never existed. 2 Philippine banks looked at the paperwork and basically said, "We've never heard of you guys. Every fortune hides a crime. Meet today's Greedhead." So how do you fake $2 billion and walk away clean? How does the number 2 man at a $28 billion company just vanish? Cologne, Austria, the late 90s. A young programmer who never finished high school. No diploma, no money. Just a feel for 2 things, code and confidence. That kid would one day handle Europe's payments, dine with people who claimed to be spies, and dodge an entire continent. But first, he had to learn the most dangerous skill in finance, how to make numbers lie. $2 billion gone. But not because it was stolen, because it was never real. And the man holding the secret is, by all accounts, sitting in Moscow right now, sipping coffee, untouchable. How a country lost its hero, its money, and the most wanted man in Europe, all at once. It's the biggest corporate fraud in modern German history, and it might also be a spy story. Let's go. To understand the lie, you have to understand the company telling it. Wirecard started in 1999, a small German firm processing online payments. And honestly, its first customers were the internet's least respectable corners. Online gambling, adult sites, the stuff serious banks wouldn't touch. That's the dirty little secret of payments. Somebody has to move the awkward money. And moving awkward money is a great place to hide, because nobody asks where it's really going. Enter Markus Braun, the CEO, a turtleneck-wearing Austrian who idolized Steve Jobs. Braun talked like a visionary. Big slides, bigger promises. The future of money, every keynote. And next to him, the quiet one, the fixer, Jan Marsalek. While Braun did the dreaming, Marsalek did the doing. Especially the parts nobody asked about. He climbed fast. By 2010, this high school dropout was the chief operating officer of a public company. He was charming, generous. He'd pick up the bill for an entire table without blinking. He told people he'd advised governments, new intelligence officers, carried secrets. Most assumed he was exaggerating to look important. Hold that thought. It matters later. But that's getting ahead of the story. In the 2000s, Wirecard had one goal: get respectable. And there's a beautiful trick for laundering a shady reputation. You buy a bank. In 2006, Wirecard absorbed a bank. Suddenly, the sketchy payments firm had a banking license. Respectability you can buy. The internet's awkward money now flowed through a real German bank. And the numbers? They started climbing, fast, every quarter. More revenue, more profit, from mysterious operations in faraway places. Asia was the magic word. That's where the growth supposedly came from. Now, here's the detail that runs through this whole story. Wirecard didn't do business there itself. It used partners, outside companies, middlemen, something called third-party acquirers. Third-party acquirer. Sounds boring, right? Translation: a stranger who handles your money for you far away. Get this. The bulk of Wirecard's profits came from a handful of these partners nobody could really see. Wirecard said it worked with around 100 partners across 60 countries. But reporters later found that almost all the Asia profit ran through just 3 of them. 3. And in finance, trust me, the money's over there is not an accounting policy. It's a red flag. But for years it worked. Investors loved it. The stock went up and up. Wirecard became Germany's fintech hero. The answer to PayPal, the pride of the nation. Newspapers wrote love letters. Politicians posed for photos. Pension funds piled in. This was a blue-chip stock. The safe kind. The kind your dad's pension is allowed to own. Remember that pensioner. We'll come back to him. It does not end well. Because here's the thing about a number that goes up forever. Eventually someone checks it. And back in 2014, one reporter in London got a tip he couldn't ignore. His name was Dan McCrum. He worked for the Financial Times. And he had a feeling. That feeling would cost him 6 years of his life. And it would bring down a giant. But before we meet the man who chased the lie, let's understand how the lie even started. In April 2015, McCrum published a series on his FT blog. He called it The House of Wirecard. He didn't accuse anyone of anything. He just ran a ruler over the numbers and asked questions. Simple questions. Where does this Asia profit actually come from? Who are these partners? And the reaction told him everything. A normal company answers questions. Wirecard went to war. Honestly, the harder he looked, the harder they hit back. And not in normal ways. First came the lawyers, legal threats by the truckload. The favorite weapon of people was something to hide. Then it got stranger. McCrum noticed his phone acting weird. Emails he never sent sitting in his sent folder. He was physically followed. So were his colleagues. By operatives with intelligence backgrounds. Think about that. A company so desperate to hide its books, it hired spies to watch a journalist. For years, Wirecard's defenders said McCrum was the criminal, a market manipulator paid by short sellers. Short sellers are people who bet a stock will fall. Wirecard painted them as villains in a plot. And the German establishment? It believed Wirecard. Not the reporter. By 2018, Wirecard was untouchable, on paper. That year, it did something almost unthinkable. It kicked Commerzbank out of the DAX. The DAX is Germany's top 30 companies. The Premier League of German business. A scrappy payments firm had just elbowed a 148-year-old bank out of the elite club. It was worth 24 billion euros. More than Deutsche Bank. Let that sink in. Markus Braun owned a huge chunk of it. On paper, he was a billionaire. And whenever someone whispered fraud, Wirecard had a response ready. Attack. Then, in early 2019, the FT dropped a different kind of story. A whistleblower in Singapore. This wasn't a reporter asking questions anymore. This was an insider with documents. Forged contracts. Cooked books. A scheme to fake revenue described from the inside. Singapore police raided Wirecard's offices, an actual criminal probe, in an actual jurisdiction. This is the moment a fraud usually dies. A real raid, real cops, real evidence boxes. And how did Germany react to a police raid on its national champion? It didn't go after Wirecard. It went after the people betting the stock would fall. Germany's financial regulator, BaFin, banned short-selling Wirecard shares. A first for the country. Read that again. The watchdog went after the people pointing at the fire. And it got worse. BaFin filed a criminal complaint against the FT reporters for market manipulation. Let that land. The journalist exposing the fraud got investigated. The fraudsters got protected. McCrum's lawyers told him if he set foot in Germany, he could actually be arrested. The cop didn't just miss the robbery. The cop arrested the witnesses. But McCrum had one thing they couldn't smear away. Documents. Real ones. And in October 2019, the FT published the story that finally cracked the wall. Internal spreadsheets. Evidence the Asia profits were, in large part, a fantasy. Wirecard still denied everything. So it played its last card. A second independent audit, KPMG. We have nothing to hide, they said. Let the experts confirm everything is fine. It was the worst decision they ever made. Because now an outsider was going to ask the one question. But to understand why that one question was so deadly, you need to understand the trick itself. Okay. Forget Wirecard for a second. Let's talk about you and a lemonade stand. You tell investors your lemonade stand makes a fortune in another city far away. They can't visit it. So they ask one simple question. Show us the money in the bank. Fair enough. So you say, it's safe. It's in a trust account. Here's a letter from the bank. And here is the entire scam in one sentence. You wrote the letter yourself. That's it. That's the whole trick. A forged confirmation letter. Now, a real auditor is supposed to catch this. So how did the auditors miss it? Here's the setup. The cash wasn't held by Wirecard directly. It sat with a trustee, a middleman. The auditor, EY, didn't ask the bank. They asked the trustee, and the trustee handed over confirmation letters, which, surprise, were fake. On paper, 2 billion euros confirmed, signed, sealed. In reality, nothing. Nobody checked the source. Nobody from EY flew to Manila to ask the actual banks, "Hey, do you hold our 2 billion? One plane ticket, one phone call to the right person. That's all it would have taken. Instead, for years, the auditors signed off on money that lived only in a Word document. Think of it like a magic box. Every year, the box says it's full of gold. Nobody ever opens the box. They just read the note taped to the front. Trust me, it's gold. For years, the box was empty, and the note was a lie. That's half the scam. But wait, if the cash was fake, how did the company show real growth? Real revenue? Great question. Because here's the second half of the trick, round tripping. Round tripping is a fancy word for moving your own money in a circle. Imagine I hand you $10. You hand it to your friend. Your friend hands it back to me. Nobody got richer. But we just created 3 transactions. On paper, business is booming. Now do it with hundreds of millions. Through those 3 faraway partners nobody can inspect. Reporters found one partner sending 100 million euros in tidy round sums to a Hong Kong shell. Round numbers, regular intervals, to a company that turned out to be an empty shell. Booming, right? Do that enough, and you've invented a giant out of thin air. And the genius of using faraway partners? When someone asks to check, the answer is always the same. It's complicated. It's confidential. It's in another country. Trust the paperwork. Always the paperwork. Fake cash to prove you're safe. Fake sales to prove you're growing. 2 lies holding hands, and the beautiful evil part? Each lie made the other look true. Fake profits earned the cash. The fake cash proved the profits were real. It's a snake eating its own tail. And for years, everyone watched and called it a unicorn. That's the machine. Forged letters and circular money, wrapped in a German flag. Simple, stupid, and worth 24 billion euros. For a while. Now, here's the question that should keep you up at night. Where were the grown-ups, the auditors, the regulators, the board, the famous bankers? Where were they? The answer is the saddest part. They were all there. They just didn't want to look, because by then, too many powerful people needed Wirecard to be real. A national champion can't be a fraud. That would be too embarrassing. So they looked away, all except one man in London, who would not stop looking. And KPMG, the special auditor, was about to do what nobody else would. Pull the thread. The dominoes were lined up. All it took now was one honest question. And here is where the fall begins. For weeks, KPMG dug into the third-party business. The cash, the Asia profits, all of it. And the deeper they dug, the more the story fell apart in their hands. Suddenly, the documents stopped arriving. The partners went quiet. The trail went cold. When you ask an honest question and everyone goes silent, that silence is the answer. In April 2020, KPMG delivered its verdict. It could not confirm the profits were real. Couldn't verify. In auditor language, that's a 5-alarm fire. The stock wobbled. But the killing blow was still coming. From the cash that never existed. Because the main auditor, EY, finally did the thing nobody had done in years. It asked the Philippine banks directly, "Do you hold Wirecard's 2 billion euros?" And the banks said the 7 words that ended everything. Wirecard is not a client of this bank. Not a client. Never was. The documents were forged. The signatures fake. The 2 billion euros wasn't missing. It had never ever existed. 20 years of glory, built on a chest with nothing in it. Now picture being Markus Braun in that room. The cash you've sworn was real for years, gone. And picture Marsalek, the man who controlled those Asia accounts. He knew. He always knew. Wirecard's first move wasn't to apologize. It was to blame the missing money on the partners. Maybe we were the victims of a fraud, they said, as if they hadn't built the whole thing. Honestly, the nerve of it. The arsonists showing up dressed as the fire brigade. But the regulators couldn't look away anymore. Neither could the banks. Neither could the world. The same establishment that had protected Wirecard now realized what it had defended. BaFin, the regulator that banned betting against Wirecard, it had bet on the wrong horse, spectacularly. And on June 18, 2020, the whole illusion finally caught fire. Because there's a difference between a stock that's overpriced and a company that doesn't exist. Wirecard wasn't a bad bet. It was a magic trick. And the audience had just seen the wires. And once a crowd sees the wires, there is no putting the rabbit back in the hat. What happened over the next 7 days is one of the fastest collapses in corporate history. Buckle in. Because this is where a giant turns to dust. June 18, 2020. EY refuses to sign the accounts. The news hits the wire. And the market does what markets do when a lie dies. It panics. In a single day, the stock falls more than 70%. Boom. Billions of euros of value. Gone before lunch. The next day, Braun resigns as CEO. The visionary, suddenly very quiet. Within a week, the shares lose 90% of their value. 90. Days earlier, the board had suspended Marsalek and asked him to find the missing $2 billion. He said he'd fly to the Philippines and bring back proof. He flew the other way, and here's where the real horror movie starts. They go looking for Jan Marsalek. They go to his office, empty. They call his phone, nothing, because Marsalek had already done the smartest thing a guilty man can do. He left. While the company burned, he was on a private jet, out of Austria, into the dark. According to investigators, the flight path points one direction, east, toward Belarus, then Russia. On June 22nd, Markus Braun is arrested. The genius CEO in handcuffs. On June 25th, Wirecard files for insolvency, first in German history. The first company in the elite DAX index to ever go bust. The national champion, bankrupt. From 24 billion euros to worthless. In a matter of days, one by one, the people who defended Wirecard turned on it. The analysts, the bankers, the press, the regulator that banned betting against the fraud now had to explain itself to a furious parliament. And now the question, who actually paid for all of this? Not Braun. He had lawyers, not Marsalek. He had a jet. The bill went somewhere else. Remember that pensioner from earlier? The one who bought the safe blue-chip stock? His retirement was in Wirecard. Because Germany told him it was the safe choice. A teacher who trusted her pension fund. A retiree who followed the experts. A small saver who believed the flag. They weren't greedy. They were careful. And careful is exactly what got punished. Banks and investors had put around 3.2 billion euros into Wirecard. Most of it gone. Thousands of employees lost their jobs overnight. The Dream Factory closed the doors. Many of them had no idea. Engineers, support staff, ordinary people who'd built real products. They'd given years to a company that, at its rotten core, was a stack of lies. I mean, come on, a whole country's pride. And it was a forged letter the entire time. Braun was arrested. The auditors faced reckoning. The regulator's boss eventually resigned. But one man was missing from every courtroom. The one who knew where the bodies were buried. Because by now, Jan Marsalek had vanished completely. And here's where it gets unbelievable. This is the part the standard fraud documentaries barely touch. So stick around. Here's where I have to be careful. The fraud is proven. What comes next is reported, alleged. So everything I'm about to say, I'm telling you who said it. Because it's that explosive. For years, Marsalek bragged about spies and secret missions. Everyone thought he was a fantasist. Remember that dinner party talk from earlier? The secret missions everyone laughed off? According to investigators, he wasn't bragging. They say he was telling the truth. A joint investigation by Der Spiegel, Der Standard, ZDF, PBS Frontline, and The Insider tracked him down. But the intrigue starts way before the collapse. Reporters tie him to operations in Libya. According to the Wall Street Journal, he pitched a plan to build a private army at the Libyan border. 15 to 20,000 mercenaries, the reporting says, to control migration, a payments executive. The same reporting links him to the Russian mercenary outfit Wagner and to recruiting fighters. According to that reporting, he met a handler from Russian military intelligence back in 2014. Same year, the reporter started digging, one man chasing the truth, the other allegedly hiding it from Moscow. He even bragged, reportedly, that Wirecard processed payments for the very investigators tracking Russian spies. Reporters say he siphoned Wirecard money into Libyan businesses. Cement, oil services, strange places for a fintech. Think about what that means. The money machine wasn't just faking books. It may have moved real secrets. According to that reporting, Marsalek now lives openly in Russia, under a new name, Alexander Neladov. Reporters say he obtained Russian citizenship under that alias in 2023. And get this, those investigations report he's worked with Russian intelligence for years. Investigators say he doesn't even hide anymore. He strolls central Moscow, free as a bird. Honestly, it reads like a spy novel. Except a real fugitive is living it right now. But the most chilling part isn't where he is. It's what they say he's been doing. Western officials, quoted in this reporting, believe he was a Russian asset for years, even during Wirecard. Think about that. The number 2 of a public European company, allegedly a Russian agent the whole time. And then there's the London trial. This part isn't just reported, it's in a courtroom. In 2024, a group of Bulgarians went on trial in the UK for spying for Russia. Their leader, Orlan Rusev, pleaded guilty. And here's the connection. Prosecutors say Rusev's ring took its orders indirectly through John Marsalek. Encrypted chats, surveillance of targets across Europe. Russia's enemies tracked and followed. The court heard about plans to follow journalists, including people investigating Russia. One target was a reporter who'd exposed Russian assassins. A honey trap was even discussed. In 2025, the ring was sentenced. Combined, more than 50 years in prison. They went to prison. The man prosecutors say directed them? Still in Moscow. Still free. That's the gut punch. The foot soldiers are jailed. The alleged spy master sips espresso. So the fraudster who faked 2 billion euros didn't just escape justice. According to this reporting, he upgraded. From corporate crook to alleged state-protected spy. And a country at war is not going to hand him back. Which means he may never face a court. The most wanted financial fugitive in Europe, hiding behind the most dangerous shield on Earth. So let's add up the damage. Because the numbers tell a story all by themselves. A 24 billion euro company, erased. Thousands of jobs, gone. Roughly 3.2 billion euros of real money from real investors, most likely lost forever. Markus Braun is on trial in Munich, charged with fraud. He denies the charges. His trial is still going. So I'm not calling a verdict, the court will. But the real cost was never the headline number. It was the people behind it. A teacher who lost the pension she paid into for 30 years. A retiree who'd done everything right. Saved. Diversified. Bought the safe national champion. A young family that put its first real savings into the country's proudest stock. They didn't gamble. They trusted. They trusted the flag, the regulator, and the auditor. And every single one of those institutions let them down. The shares they owned didn't drop. They became wallpaper, a worthless certificate of a company that lied. That's the part that should make you angry, not the spy stuff. The careful people who paid. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Wirecard didn't fool a few naive people. It fooled the regulators, the auditors, the press, the politicians, an entire system. And maybe the scariest part is this. We wanted it to be true. We wanted a German tech hero. A homegrown answer to Silicon Valley. A reason to feel proud. So when one reporter said it's fake, we didn't want to hear it. We attacked the messenger instead. That's the real lesson of Wirecard. A good story can shut off everyone's brain at once. When something seems too good to be true and everyone around you agrees it's real, check the box, open the box, ask for the cash. Fly to Manila if you have to, because somewhere out there, right now, the next Wirecard is showing you a letter, and it looks official. And somewhere in Moscow, the man who proved it can be done is still out there, still free. The money was never real, but the damage was, and the manhunt isn't over. We dug up the receipts so you'd see the next one coming. And that's how the money vanishes. Don't be a greedhead, subscribe, and we'll show you the next one before it gets you.